Now, speaking at the journey that you started at a very young age, so do you remember your first competition?
Okay, for in badminton.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tough one. First competition, I think I played probably at 10 or 11. I'm aware of the place I played. It was a two-court hall. I lost in the second round and I remember like crying my
Crying.
heart out. Oh gosh, I was like this. So when I was very young, I think for 2 3 years till I understood the feeling of what it is to actually lose. I would once I realized that I'm losing a match, tears would automatically roll out my eyes and I'll be playing and I'll be crying and the opponent will like what is happening. So I remember, yeah, second round I exited the tournament and I was crying and it was like horrible. The first time I ever lost in my life, right? It's a very tough thing to take when you're so young. So
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like when you said that you went and you lost in the second round and you were like crying, like I remember my first competition I went, it was in the semi-finals, it was in the Belgaum district tournament.
okay,
And then, I'd actually not known that it is after 20 all, you have a difference of two. I didn't know
okay.
this. And then in semi-finals, the umpire is like, okay, 20 all, so now it's like two. He just showed me this two, and I was
Oh,
like,
and
what the hell is going on?
yeah,
And
true,
then
true, true.
the game got over and I started crying. I was like, no, the umpire cheated on me. This is not the rule and all this kind of thing. So I remember, the first
Yeah,
first loss is always the first
yeah,
competition or the first
yeah.
loss. It is very painful to go through.
Very painful and hard to digest. Like, how can you lose the match, right? You're made to win.
Yeah, and when you see those players who are exceptionally good, and when you have those old trophies kept ahead of you, they're displaying
Yeah,
the trophies, and you know that you're
yeah.
not going to get it, that is even more
It's a
difficult.
lot more hurtful. I can understand the feeling.
So, Reshma, I'm going to talk this not as a host of this podcast, but the friend, or, when I used to compete back in under 13, 16,
Hmm.
and 19,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
used to meet during the state tournaments, state rankings,
Yes,
championships, and
yes.
all of that. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest over here. Like, I used to be fucking jealous of your performance.
Okay.
Okay. Like, super
Okay.
jealous because, whenever I see, like, okay, Reshma is one under 13. Wow, now she's under 16 champion. Now she's under 19 champion. She's winning all the goddamn tournaments, every single
Yeah.
thing. Like we used to have like some 6 to 8 state tournaments, including championship, I think, and used to bag
Yeah.
almost all of them. Used to win all of them, and I
Yeah.
used to be so pathetic to see every time the tournament gets over, and then there's a headline in the newspaper saying Karthik bangs this, Karthik claims this title, Reshma claims this title.
Yeah.
It was so I was so jealous of your performance, and back then I always felt like I should go and ask her like, what is she doing right that I'm doing wrong? And
Yeah.
today I feel that privilege of sitting here and asking you as a 16-year-old Reshma, like, what was your secret ingredient for performing consistently, during your sub juniors and your juniors?
I think the secret ingredient, I would say, I really loved enjoying the sport. I mean, at that age, I didn't realize what pressure was or, what all those factors meant. I mean, I would never get nervous. I would never get nervous, and the main reason was I would say I was not serious about the sport. It's very funny that I say this, but I was not serious about the sport till I turned 16, 17. I was very casual. I would just play to have fun. But one more thing, always behind the scenes and all that, I was very good in strategizing and reading people's games, and I was able to do that because I knew my limitations. I was not very, smooth on the court in terms of my movements as compared to my counterparts, but in terms of my skill, I was really good.
Mm.
So I would, make sure that I play to my strengths. I would never, and I would play accordingly. So I would try and play to my strengths. And if sometimes, of course, I would get caught, it always doesn't go your way. But majorly, I would try and play to my strengths and play in a way that I'm having the upper hand. So that was something I did. And again, I was not very serious about the sport, like I said. So I was having fun while playing, and that feeling, it then and once you start winning, it's like an addiction, right? You always want to win. So I never wanted to let that go. So that's pretty much, I think that's what I did. I mean, I didn't do anything else, but this is pretty much what I did.
So nice, like I always wanted to know back in the day, like, why is she doing this? And I also feel the way you mentioned, like it's having fun along the way.
Yeah,
And then after 17, 18, when you started realizing there's something called as high pressure, there's something called as
yeah.
anxiety, stress, or performance anxiety, all those kind of thing. Do you believe that once an athlete or any human being starts accumulating all this kind of information, their performance starts going down because now you're becoming aware of all of those factors where initially you were unaware of them. You were just enjoying the sport. Do you think that could be a reason?
I think it's definitely a reason. So it's like, so for me, when, like I said, 16, 17, studies was more important, right? So I knew that, I need to do well in studies. So the pressure was on studies. It was not on badminton. Badminton was more like, it's like a second option, right? But now when I realized and when I made a decision that, this is what I need to do, badminton is the way ahead, then those things start coming. You're nervous because you're dependent. It is just this, and you bloody make sure that you do well in the sport. So once you get really serious about things, once those things actually matter to you, then these kind of emotional things come. You're anxious, you get nervous, then there's pressure, because these are some of the things you face in your exam hall, because you're nervous, you have those butterflies in your stomach, because you know that it's going to make a difference. So for me, when I was studying, badminton was not that. So I would go bindas and play. But when badminton became my first priority, studies took that backseat. So I would literally give a damn about my exams. I would just go and write whatever I want, and it didn't matter, right? I had to just pass. So getting the marks and all that didn't matter. So I think it depends on your priorities. Once the highest, the thing, whatever in your set is the highest, is taking the highest priority, and that's of course going to, if that's going to make a difference to you, then all these external factors play a huge role. Anxiety, nervousness, getting apprehensive about things, I think all these things start coming to your head.
So when you made badminton as your priority and then you were like, okay, exam was just at the back of your head and you just used to go and give the exam. So when you made badminton as your priority and you started understanding the high pressure and the stress and all of that. So I think at the initial stage, it might have been difficult for you to cope up with this. It was a complete different transition for you. So how did you handle it? Who helped you and how did you come out of that transition?
I think I figured things out myself, honestly. I didn't, I mean, my parents don't come from a sporting background, so they always just backed me. I mean, they never understood the nitty gritties of sport. I mean, as an athlete, only you understand because you're going through that journey. And of course, when I realized that badminton is the one, initially my performance, was not good. When I took badminton as a full-time career option, because a lot of external factors are involved, right? Your result matters. You need to give those hours to train and all that, and then again pressure, nervousness. I think I didn't have any help, or I mean, you have help in the form of coaches, but you know the story of coaches generally. I mean, there is like a disparity in the student coach ratio. You'll have like 30 students and you'll have like one or two coaches, so it's very difficult to get that attention as well. So basically, I figured things out by myself. I think with time heals things, right? So with time, I gave myself time, and slowly I got through. I understood how it felt, why it felt, and I tried to figure out the questions. I think finding the questions were more important than getting answers to it. Once I was able to figure the questions out as to why I'm feeling this way and how do I tackle it, also talking with your counterparts, of course, badminton is an individual sport. Not many people would want to share, but there are few people who are open to it, and then through their experiences, and you tweak and tune your game accordingly, and that's how I feel the whole transition got in for me to play the sport professionally.